This is an art collage novel video. I made this series so you guys can experience the story faster. The video will focus on the character's psychology, the images are for illustration purposes only. The crocodile's body instantly turned into a strong wind that covered the sky and the earth like a rising tide. It rose from the ruins and swept forward. In an instant, it had covered more than 100 meters. Everything it passed by turned into dust. It was extremely powerful. Unmoving like a mountain, but moving like thunder. It had an elemental body, and it was an overbearing element that was close to the origin of wind, the immemorial astral wind. Even the experts of the Nine Heavens realm did not dare to block its edge. With a move, it immediately suppressed the monstrous demonic qi. Yunxiao and Yuan Gaohan felt the force pulling the space suddenly disappear, and they fell to the ground gently. Taking a deep breath, they hurriedly transformed into two beams of light and fled toward the Milky Way in the distance. As long as he could cross the Milky Way, he could escape back to the realm of heavenly martial arts. If he was caught by the demon, he would most likely die. From the looks of it, the space that they had just sealed was inside the crocodile's stomach. The crocodile was not a true spirit that was specially cultivated. It was probably used to seal and guard the ancient tower. This was why he attacked the demon the moment it appeared. Now, while they were fighting, it was the best time to escape. Boom! The crocodile's sudden attack shocked the demon. The true spirit condensed from the elements was extremely powerful. Although the crocodile had not reached the true spirit realm, the demon did not dare to underestimate it. Besides, it had been sealed for God knows how long, and its power had long been depleted. Although the demon was shocked, he didn't panic. Under the monstrous astral wind, he formed an incantation gesture with one hand, and a huge demonic shadow appeared behind him. It gave birth to endless demonic qi, and it actually appeared to have 3 heads and 6 arms. If Yunxiao had not fled, he would have been shocked, because the demon's move was the same as Dijia's. Its 6 arms seemed to be holding some kind of weapon, but they were only faint shadows and could not condense into a real body. The demon made a strange seal with both hands. The 6 arms of the shadow of the demon also performed different techniques at the same time. Circles of demonic qi shot out from his body, forming a round protective shield with a diameter of more than 10 meters. It was extremely sharp. Boom! The astral wind came crashing down fiercely. It was as if the Milky Way in the 9 heavens had landed on a huge black rock, sending up countless flower-like elemental powers. However, these elemental powers did not disperse. Instead, they were controlled by the crocodile's consciousness and turned into countless tiny tornadoes. They fell on the demonic qi barrier and attacked the defensive power. They continued to merge with each other and grew bigger and bigger. The great demon's expression finally changed. The devil form was the strongest power he could use at the moment, but under the attack of the crocodile with the strength of the 9 heavens realm, he couldn't hold on and finally shattered with a bang. A large amount of black gas exploded, and the entire ruins were filled with a black mist that continued to spread. After the astral wind broke through the barrier, it landed on the ground and transformed into the shape of a crocodile. It didn't relax at all and was even more serious and vigilant as it looked around. In the darkness, its vision was not affected. Its eyes were like a pair of searchlights, looking around. It had completely defeated its opponent with that move just now, but the result was that it was trapped in the monstrous demonic qi. Rings of subtle astral wind power spun around the crocodile, shaking off the demonic qi and protecting its body from being eroded. High in the sky, the demon's face slowly emerged and condensed into a head. It looked into the starry sky and frowned when it saw Yunxiao and Yuan Gaohan running away. But, it did not have the time to think about it. Instead, it turned to look at the crocodile in the monstrous demonic aura, its eyes flashing with a fierce light. Roar! The crocodile raised its head and roared. Its body once again exploded into astral wind, instantly blowing away the demonic energy. It formed a giant crocodile head in the sky and bit towards the demon. The ruins were filled with 2 forces intertwining with each other, constantly wreaking havoc and eroding each other. The demon's expression changed. His demon qi was supposed to be invulnerable. Even if it was an ordinary wind element, it could directly devour and absorb it. However, this power that was close to the elemental origin was not only devouring, but also constantly eroding his demonic energy. It's been too long. Am I left with only this little strength? The great demon's face was filled with distress. He suddenly condensed his hands and constantly changed his hand seals, forming a strange symbol on his palms. He condensed the three-headed and six-armed Dharma again. He didn't know where it came from, but it drew a large amount of demonic chi and became stronger and stronger. The crocodile also noticed it. 2 rays of light shot out of its eyes, and a hurricane suddenly split into 2, and then 3. It split into countless tiny astral winds, blowing away all the black demonic chi above the ruins. Even the three-headed and six-armed Dharma form collapsed instantly. The big demon went berserk. As he roared, the demonic shadow on his body extended an arm. An ancient tower gradually condensed on it and became solid. It was the ancient tower that had suppressed him earlier. You actually shattered my ancient god's battlefield and used the core tower to suppress me, but you didn't know that this would give me a chance to recover. He quickly mumbled something, and the ancient pagoda flew out of his hand. It shot into the starry sky and condensed into thousands of rays of light. At this moment, the land floating in the starry sky seemed to be pulled by some kind of force and became restless. The crocodile looked at the ancient tower in horror. It felt the earth where it was standing exude a powerful force that pushed it away. Even Yunxiao and Yuan Gaohan, who were running away, seemed to have noticed something and turned their heads to look back. They were so stunned that they almost forgot to run away. Under the guidance of the ancient tower, the pieces of earth gathered from the clouds in the starry sky. They gathered together like a broken puzzle that was being pieced together. The crocodile was so shocked that it turned into a strong wind and soared into the sky, trying to erode the ancient pagoda. The big demon snorted coldly. The three-headed and six-armed Dharma form appeared and rushed toward the astral wind. The 2 colored powers immediately collided once again, entangling and eroding each other. Although the demonic chi was repeatedly at a disadvantage, it seemed endless. The crocodile was unable to get close to the ancient tower and could only roar continuously. The surrounding land continuously joined together, and a strange spatial power began to spread out as if it was forming a domain of its own. It even released the power of the domain to suppress the crocodile. The demon's eyes were filled with joy and he laughed. The battlefield of the ancient gods. My battlefield of the ancient gods is not an ordinary holy weapon. In the long years, no matter how much it was shattered, it could still repair itself. His eyes turned to the direction where Yunxiao and Nan Gongwuk had fled, the other side of the Milky Way, and he said in a cold voice, "Realm of heavenly martial arts, I, Dijia, have returned." In the distance, Yunxiao's body suddenly trembled as if he had heard the words. With a shocked expression on his face, he accelerated and arrived at the edge of the Milky Way in the blink of an eye. What do we do? Even the Emperor Qi of the 9 heavens can't withstand the various terrifying forces in the Milky Way, let alone us. How did you get up here? Yuan Gaohan anxiously stomped his feet. The powerful aura emitted from the constant battle between the demonic chi and the astral winds in the distance made him feel terrified. Yunxiao's face turned pale as he said, "I was sent here on Noah's ship. Who knew that the outer realm space would be so dangerous? If I had known, I would have told him to wait for me." Noah. Noah's ship? Yuan Gohan's heart trembled and he exclaimed in horror, "Noah's ship appeared? Who has it now?" Yunxiao stared at him coldly and said, "Is it a question you should be considering who has it? If you can't think of a way to cross the other shore, you'll be devoured by that devil." Yuan Gohan's face turned green and white, secretly regretting his greed for the northern heaven frigid star iron. He didn't expect to release such a powerful fiend. It seemed that even the crocodile with its elemental body was not a match for it. Yunxiao was also shocked as he watched from a distance. He did not hear it wrong. The demon did say hi, Dijia, and it looked exactly the same as Dijia in Mount Meru. The 3-headed and 6-armed Dharma form he used when he was fighting the crocodile was also exactly the same. He couldn't help but ask, Old Yuan, is Jia a person's name or a form of address in the demon race? Why do you care about this? Yuan Gaohan glared at him and angrily said. It should be a person's name, hurry up and think of a way to cross the Milky Way. I have an idea, Yun Xiao said with a frown. But I don't know if it will work. What? You have a way? Then hurry up and use it. I don't need to die now. Yuan Gaohan was just making a casual remark. He did not expect Yun Xiao to really have a way, and he was overjoyed. Not only do I need your help, Yun Xiao snorted coldly as he looked at him. I might have to make you suffer later. There's no problem in helping. It doesn't matter if I feel wronged. As long as I can get through this, I can accept any grievances. Yuan Gaohan only wanted to protect his 8th-tier Starlight soul body and was willing to give up everything else. Even if he had to offer up 4 pieces of Northern Heaven frigid star iron, he would not even frown. Well, that's good. Then come to my Divine Realm tablet. Yun Xiao's face was expressionless, but a golden light flashed between his eyebrows. Yuan Gaohan was taken aback, not knowing what Yun Xiao was going to do. He only felt a huge force trying to pull him over, so he naturally resisted it. But then, Yun Xiao frowned and shouted at him, Don't resist, just let this power guide you. Only then did he relax his mind, and it was immediately taken back into Yun Xiao's forehead. Yun Xiao's eyes grew cold as he muttered to himself, If it wasn't for the fact that I had no other choice, I wouldn't have taken you in. However, since you've already entered, don't even think about leaving before I recover to the peak of the martial supreme realm. With a flash between his eyebrows, the Divine Realm tablet shot out directly and stayed in the air like an ordinary jade without any light. Then, he disappeared in a flash and entered the jade tablet. After Yun Xiao went in, he saw Yuan Gaohan standing inside with a blank look on his face. His pupils were wide open, as if he had sensed something, and he was almost petrified. This place is dense. Is this Noah's ship? He asked nervously with a little fear. When he saw Yun Xiao's figure emerge, his heart was filled with dread. As a 9th-tier alchemist who had read a lot of books and was very knowledgeable about all kinds of things, he was able to discover the situation here immediately. Yun Xiao looked at him indifferently and explained, It's not Noah's ship, but it's a transcendent-grade mystic artifact that's the same as Noah's ship. Perhaps it's more appropriate to call it a holy artifact? Yuan Gaohan was really panicking this time. Although he had already guessed it, it was still confirmed by Yun Xiao's words, which shocked him greatly. You have a saint artifact? There are only 2 or 3 of such items in the world, so which one is this saint tool? Yun Xiao's pupils constricted as he said coldly, Isn't Noah's ship the only one? It seemed that as a saint, he knew more than ordinary people. I'm very interested to know what the 2 or 3 items you mentioned are. Yuan Gaohan immediately shut his mouth, his eyes filled with a complicated expression as he said, It seems that you really aren't a disciple of the Soul Devourer sect. Otherwise, Wang Fubai would never allow his disciples to have such a heaven-defying sacred object. In the history of the human race, only Noah's ship has been recorded, but in the long history of the heavenly martial arts realm, no one would believe that Noah's ship is the only saint tool. He paused for a moment and seemed to be slightly relieved. Since you have the saint artifact, you naturally don't need to fear the chaotic flow of energy in the Silver River. However, he was also full of worry and apprehension as he said, What do you plan to do with me? He also realized that he knew Yun Xiao's secret, and the latter would not let him go easily. He finally knew what that grievance meant. Yun Xiao smiled. Old Yuan, it seems that you're not stupid. Just don't play dumb in front of me in the future. You're wrong about one thing. Even with this saint artifact, I don't have the confidence to cross this galaxy, because this saint artifact was extremely heavily damaged when it fought against another saint artifact. It's also been ravaged by the immemorial astral winds just now, so it's even more broken now. This is also why I need your help. Another holy weapon. Yuan Gaohan's eyes bulged out. He found that what he saw and knew in a day was more shocking than what he had seen in a lifetime. In the legends, only Noah's ship was recorded in history, and now 3 of them had appeared. The specific situation is a little complicated, and I don't have time to explain. I need you to help me control this saint artifact and cross the other shore. Yunshao said with a serious face. That's natural, Yuan Gaohan nodded and said, escaping is the most important thing now. But I want to know how you will deal with me. He was extremely worried. In this saint artifact, Yunshao could control the laws of heaven and earth with a single thought. He was no match for the other party at all, so he had to negotiate the conditions while he could still play his role. Yunshao narrowed his eyes and stared at him. Suddenly, he laughed and said, Old Yuan, don't worry. I won't harm you. Otherwise, if I kill you, your true body will immediately know everything that happened here. At that time, I will really be in danger. Yuan Gaohan's expression changed and he asked in horror, Are you going to imprison me forever? In that case, it would be better to die. Don't worry. Yunshao shook his head slightly and said, I'll naturally imprison him for a while. But I can guarantee two things. First, your cultivation here will not be any worse than in the outer space of the realm. Second, I need you to help me refine something. 3. As long as I recover to my peak strength, I will definitely let you out. Yuan Gaohan's face was gloomy and uncertain, and he asked with some doubt, just like this? You're not lying to me? He did not know that when Yunshao said that he could recover his strength to the peak, he meant that he could return to the peak of the Nine Heavens realm. He thought that it was just his current peak 4 stars martial grandmaster, and thought that the conditions were too simple. Yunshao looked at him coldly and said proudly, I've always been a man of my word, when have I ever lied to anyone? He waved his hand, and Gu Yuesheng and the others immediately appeared nearby. Each of them looked at Yuan Gaohan with a stunned expression. I promised you before, Yunshao murmured. You can leave as long as you help me once. You're free now, I won't force you to stay if you want to leave. When everyone heard this, they were all overjoyed. Situ Heng was the first to laugh. He cupped his hands and said, Many thanks, many thanks. Yuan Gaohan's face revealed an extremely strange expression, there's a demon outside, and he has a sacred weapon ancient god's battlefield. Aren't you trying to trick them? What? Demon? A saint artifact? Those people's expressions all changed. Although they didn't know what a great demon and a holy weapon were, they could tell that they were very powerful. Gu Yuesheng's face showed anger and he said, You want to harm us? Yunshao crossed his arms over his chest and said leisurely, Gu Yuesheng, I don't like what you're saying. You all saw how the astral winds were wreaking havoc earlier. If we let you out at that time, who would be able to survive? Although there's a great demon outside, it's currently trapped by the immemorial astral wind and won't be able to come out for a while. If you go out now, you'll be safe for at least an hour. The 6 people's faces were all gloomy and uncertain. They still had a lingering fear of the destruction caused by the immemorial astral wind. It was actually an existence that could contend with that kind of thing. Even if they were given an hour to escape, they might not be able to escape. Can't you just find a safer place before letting us out? Yu Jiolin couldn't help but ask. I'm sorry, Yunshao sneered. Everywhere I stand is dangerous. It's up to you whether you want to leave or not. I called you over to tell this old Yuan that I'm a man of my word. Yuan Gaohan was also speechless. Although he didn't go back on his words, he was still a bit embarrassed. The 6 of them were all angry and hesitant. If they missed this opportunity, who knew when the next one would come? Duan Yu laughed gloatingly and said, I think you'd better just return to young Master Yun's side. Don't always think about how to escape. That way, it won't matter whether you leave or not. Yunshao looked at the 3 men from the Temple of Holy Fire and said, The 3 of you can stay. I have a good relationship with Yi Fan and he was the one who sent me here on Noah's boat. The next time I see Yi Fan, I will let you go out to see him. The 3 of them were shocked, and then they were overjoyed. They said excitedly, is what you said true? Did young master really get Noah's ship? Of course. Yunshao nodded. Yuan Gaohan was shocked to see that Noah's ship had really appeared. He had been in the outer realm for 10 years, and many major things must have happened, but why hadn't his main body sent anyone to pick him up? Could it be that the holy region was still peaceful? The three men were so excited that they could not put their emotions into words. They still believed Yun Xiao's words. It was no longer important whether he could get out of here or not. Overjoyed, he flew directly behind Yun Xiao, planning to follow him for the time being. Yu Jiolin remained silent for a long time before he finally sighed and said, "Young Master Yun, it's my blessing to have such a supreme-grade profound-level weapon and to have the luck of heaven. I hope young Master Yun won't abandon me. I wonder if I have the honor to follow you." Yun Xiao glanced at him, then laughed and said, "Not bad. Mr. Yu, it seems that the Divine Realm tablet is very suitable for you. I didn't notice it, but I've become an 8 stars martial emperor in such a short time. That's right, you have the qualifications to follow me for the time being, but if you can't advance any further, this qualification will slowly be revoked." Yuan Gaohan was shocked. It turned out that this saint weapon was called the Divine Realm Tablet, and it wasn't among the few saint weapons he knew of. What made him even more confused was that Yun Xiao was only a 4 stars martial grandmaster, while the other party was an 8 stars martial emperor. He really did not know where Yun Xiao got such confidence from. "What about you guys?" For the last time, Yun Xiao looked at Sita Hang and Gu Yuesheng and said, "Oh right, I forgot to tell you. The Skeleton and Storm Mercenary Corps no longer existed. Chen Xuanjiu and Shen Feng have both died, and now, the Qingge Forest is under the rule of the Rookie Mercenary Group." What? The two of them were shocked. After recovering from his shock, Sita Hang immediately came back to his senses. After some consideration, he cupped his fists and said, "Sita Hang is willing to follow young Master Yun. However, his strength is too low, and I'm afraid that young Master Yun won't be interested in him." Yun Xiao gave him a look and said, "Your talent is indeed not very good. But, in my Divine Realm tablet, it's very possible for you to reach the peak of Martial Venerable Realm in the future. If you're lucky, you'll have a chance to break through to the rank of a Martial Supreme." What? Situ Hong was shocked. His mouth was wide open, and his face was filled with disbelief. He was well aware of his own body's condition. His biggest dream in this life was to break through to the Martial Emperor realm. How could the other party say that he had a chance to break through to the Martial Supreme realm? Who did he think he was? Did he think he was a 9th-tier alchemist? Situ Heng's heart was filled with a strange and unconvinced feeling. Yun Xiao ignored him. Finally, he looked at Gu Yuesheng and said, "You're quite talented, kid, but you've taken the wrong path. I'll find you a teacher now, and I guarantee that he'll be better than that crazy Master Jia of yours." "How about it?" "What? Crazy Jia?" Yuan Gohan's pupils shrank. He stared at Gu Yuesheng and said in disbelief, "You said his master is Crazy Jia? Isn't that madman already dead?" Then, he revealed a strange expression and said angrily, "You're not referring to me when you say that master, right?" Gu Yuesheng's face was also full of disdain. He snorted contemptuously and said suspiciously, "Him? He seems to be a soul, right?" Yuan Gohan's eyebrows twitched slightly. He looked at Gu Yuesheng in surprise and said, "This brat really has some skills. He can actually see through my spiritual body." Yun Xiao smiled, then pointed at Yuan Gaohan and introduced him to the crowd. "This is Master Yuan Gaohan, a 9th-tier alchemist of the Holy Region." After the entire space sucked in a breath of cold air, it was silent. There was no sound.